Yeah, I'll react to that, sure.
Hey guys, Epic History TV, or Epic History, sorry. That was their older name. Preemptive like, my name's Connor if you're new. Hope everyone's doing well. I like to learn things, usually. And that's what we're going to do right now. How did Christianity become the most popular religion on earth? Constantine?
Christianity.
I'm not, obviously I have stuff to learn here, so let's go.
Christianity, the most practiced religion on earth, began with the life of Jesus Christ, a Jew who lived in the Roman province of Judea. His resurrection and divinity are matters of faith, but his existence and death by crucifixion around 30 AD are widely accepted as historical fact.
The fact that Jesus, I mean, I can't think of a more influential person to ever live. You could say maybe Muhammad. But I mean, even people like Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan actually could be up there. Just because of the amount of land he conquered and the shifting of power that came with his conquering. I think Genghis Khan could have, when it comes to non-religious figures, I don't know if there's anyone that has had a larger effect than Genghis Khan. Let me know if you disagree with that. But I mean, a lot of people throughout history have been crucified. A lot of claim to be the Messiah or some new religious figure, but clearly not. No one has had much near even close to the effect that Jesus had. And so, just as a historical figure, he is absolutely fascinating to me. And
Christianity's early spread is credited to a small group of loyal followers, the apostles. They are joined around 36 AD by Paul, who has a vision of Christ while traveling to Damascus.
Let me increase the size of this a little bit. Okay.
Paul makes it his life's mission to spread the gospel, or good news, of Christ's death and resurrection. He is extremely successful, winning Christian converts around the Mediterranean and as far west as Italy. According to tradition, the Apostle Mark establishes a church.
I'd like to learn more about Paul because going throughout the empire, I'm surprised he wasn't captured and maybe you could attribute more to his apostles than you could to Jesus himself in terms of Christianity gaining ground.
In Alexandria.
I'm talking too much already.
Tradition, the Apostle Mark establishes a church in Alexandria around 42 AD, the origin of today's Coptic Orthodox Church.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
The tradition, the Apostle Mark establishes a church in Alexandria around 42 AD, the origin of today's Coptic Orthodox Church. Also, according to tradition, in 52 AD, Thomas the Apostle arrives in India and establishes several small Christian communities. Most historians dispute this due to lack of evidence. Early missionaries such as Paul successfully spread Christianity across the Roman Empire in the 1st century AD. Christian communities are documented from North Africa to Italy. By 100 AD, the 4 Gospels that make up the Bible's New Testament are complete. They form the foundation of Christianity to the present day. Christianity continues to spread in the Roman Empire and among its neighbors. Around 301, Armenian king Tiridates III converts to Christianity and proclaims it the state religion, making Armenia the world's oldest Christian country.
Interesting.
Christians face persecution across the Roman Empire, where it is emperors who are considered divine. But in 312, according to Christian chroniclers, Roman Emperor Constantine experiences a Christian vision just before the Battle of Milvian Bridge. The following year, he passes the Edict of Milan, legalizing Christianity across the
So maybe it's due to Paul more than anyone else, maybe even more than Jesus himself, who is most responsible for, because if it's not for Jesus, obviously Paul wouldn't be spreading it. If it's not for Paul, then it wouldn't be popular enough around the empire for Constantine to see it and harness it. And so maybe Paul...
In 325, he convenes the Council of Nicaea, the first of many formal church gatherings aimed at resolving theological disputes. An estimated 300 bishops attend the council, evidence of Christianity's early growth and organization. The council establishes the Nicene Creed, a statement of Christian faith still used today. Nevertheless, Christianity is fragmented, and numerous sects and doctrines flourish. Most disputes center on the precise nature of Christ and his relationship to God and the Trinity. Around 330, Christianity spreads south into Africa. King Izana declares Christianity the official religion of Axum in the Horn of Africa. This is the origin of today's Ethiopian Church, one of the oldest in the world.
Wow.
In 380, Emperor Theodosius passes the first Roman law to define Orthodox Christian belief. Christianity is on its way to becoming the state religion of the Roman Empire. Across its territory, Christians attack old temples, destroying some and turning others into churches. Later emperors outlaw worship of the old gods and persecute their followers, who become known as pagans, a derogatory term for those who are backward and inferior. The so-called barbarian tribes that...
Interesting. I've always wondered what a pagan meant, and I always kind of confused it with monotheistic religions. But apparently that's not really the case.
Overrun much of the Western Roman. The so-called barbarian tribes that overrun much of the Western Roman Empire, Visigoths, Ostrogoths, and Vandals, also convert to Christianity, even if initially they adopt the heretical beliefs of Arianism. Around 405, St. Jerome completes a new Latin translation of the Bible, which becomes known as the Vulgate. It will become the official Bible text of the Catholic Church, and remains the basis of the Catholic Bible to this day. Over the next 2 centuries, missionaries, at great personal risk, strive to convert pagan communities and their rulers. The conversion of an influential ruler proves a crucial strategy, often leading to the conversion of entire realms. Christianity spreads throughout Western Europe, even as the Western Roman Empire falls.
Okay, so pagan, the term pagan refers to, what I'm learning so far, as anyone who's sort of just not Christian. And sort of a similar idea of the Jewish Gentile. I forget if Gentile means a Jewish person or a non-Jewish person. But that's a big thing I'm learning right now.
Around 432, St. Patrick travels to Ireland to begin the conversion of the Irish.
Where St. Patrick's Day comes from?
In 508, Clovis, king of the Franks, converts, completing the conversion of Gaul. In 563, Columba travels from Ireland to western Scotland, establishing a monastery on the island of Iona, one of the oldest in Western Europe. In 589, Visigoth king Recared renounces Arianism and converts his entire kingdom to Catholicism. In 597, Pope Gregory sends St. Augustine to Britain. He converts King Ethelbert of Kent, beginning the conversion of the English. in 635, Alopen becomes the first known Christian missionary to reach China. Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty issues an edict allowing Christianity to spread. Missionaries build churches and translate Christian texts into Chinese. Christian theology mixes with existing.
It's curious. I wonder why he allowed the spread of Christianity. For stuff this far, centuries outside of Jesus' death, I can see it being such a force that even if you didn't believe in Jesus' teachings or the theological tradition of Christianity, it could be just such an overwhelming force that either you would have to let it through, or you could see it as a means of power yourself to allow it through. And so that doesn't seem so strange to me at this point. It seems more strange in China for that to be allowed. But the biggest thing to me, as someone who's not religious, I've never been religious. I didn't grow up. I don't even remember. This is how little I was kind of influenced by religion, is that I only remember in my teenage years, mid to late teens, asking my parents what they even thought of Christianity, you know? And, you know, they grew up in more Christian households, and they weren't against it or anything. But I hope that you can get a little insight on my upbringing by the fact that I had to ask my own parents what they thought about this stuff when I was already 15, 16, 17 years old. I had a point before I was about to say that I want to bring up. Oh, yeah. So as someone who's not Christian, who's not religious very much at all, okay? There had to have been something very significant about Jesus himself. And that's why it is such an easy answer for me. If you were to ask me, like, you can pick one person in history, alive or dead, ever, to sit down and talk to, it would be Jesus for me. Not because of some religious reason, but because there had to have been something about this man that was so incredible that would make so many people, like Paul, to go around and spread this stuff where others didn't do that for other people claiming to have similar attributes and godliness, you know what I mean? And so I just want to know what this guy was like outside of any religious, you know, like there had to have been something special about the guy.
Traditions, adopting.
Sorry, guys, one sec. Sorry, guys, continue.
Christian texts into Chinese. Christian theology mixes with existing traditions, adopting Taoist and Buddhist terminology. Meanwhile,
sure, those are the origins of the Taiping Rebellion too, which was a horrific conflict with, I believe, tens of millions of deaths.
Arab forces, proclaiming the new faith of Islam, conquer much of the Middle East and North Africa, and seize control of Christianity's most holy sites in Jerusalem. By 720, Muslim conquests extend as far as the Iberian Peninsula. However, most Islamic rulers tolerate Christianity in their lands, and though treated as second-class subjects, Christian communities endure. Medieval Europe has by now splintered into many kingdoms. Frankish King Charlemagne extends his rule across Francia, Bavaria, Saxony, and northern Spain. Wherever he conquers, he converts new subjects to Christianity, often at the point of a sword. In 800, he is crowned Holy Roman Emperor by the Pope, the first in an imperial line that lasts 1,000 years. Christianity continues to spread north and east, with the help of more royal conversions. In 965, King Harold Bluetooth of Denmark, followed by Duke Mieszko.
That's where our modern day, you know, Bluetooth comes from, which I learned maybe a year ago. I hadn't known before that.
King Harold Bluetooth of Denmark, followed by Duke Mieszko and Poland's leading nobility. Vladimir the Great, Grand Prince of Kiev, regarded as the founder of Christianity in Ukraine and Russia. King Olaf Tryggvason of Norway, who sends missionaries to Iceland and Greenland. King Stephen of Hungary. And King Olof Hödkonen of Sweden, whose attempt to convert pagans meets fierce resistance. In 1054, tensions between the Greek Eastern Church, headed by the Patriarch in Constantinople, and the Latin Western Church, ruled by the Pope in Rome, lead to a split known as the Great Schism. The result is the formation of the Eastern Orthodox Church and the Roman Catholic Church. The Eastern Roman, or Byzantine, Empire is hard-pressed by the Seljuk Turks. And so in 1095, Pope Urban II calls for a crusade to aid the Byzantine Empire and reclaim the Holy Land for Christians. He promises forgiveness of sins to those who take part, and Catholic Christians sign up in droves. The success of the First Crusade leads to the establishment of several Christian states in the Levant. But within 200 years, all have fallen to Muslim neighbors.
Yeah, and I hear the First Crusade was the most successful one.
Christian rulers have more success in Iberia, rolling back the Muslim conquests of the 8th century.
Granada.
In Northern Europe, there are crusades against pagans in the Baltic and Finland. Meanwhile, Christianity continues to gain influence in the East. Papal legate John of Montecorvino crosses Armenia, Persia, and India to reach China, where in...
So I wonder why other religious traditions didn't spread as far as Christianity and Islam did, as far and as effective as Christianity and Islam. And I'm assuming, my best guess, please let me know if you know better in the comments, my best guess is that there weren't as established trade routes and interconnectivity around the old world that would have allowed such an expansion of a religion. That'd be my best guess, but I'm sure there are a lot of factors.
1294, Persia and India. Legate John of Montecorvino crosses Armenia, Persia, and India to reach China, where in 1294 he becomes the first bishop of what will become Beijing.
Wow.
In 1386, Grand Duke Jogaila, the last pagan ruler of Lithuania, is baptized and begins converting his subjects. In 1453, the Ottoman Turks capture Constantinople, the center of the Eastern Orthodox Church. Constantinople had been considered the new Rome. With its fall, the Russian Orthodox Church claims Moscow as the third Rome, with a duty to protect all Orthodox Christians.
Foreshadowing of 400 years later with the Crimean War. Age of Discovery. Here comes the new world now.
The Age of Discovery, marked by great pioneering maritime voyages, will see Western European powers carry Christianity to many far-off lands. In 1482...
Yeah, I believe the three largest countries today with the most amount of Christians in them are the USA, Mexico, and Brazil, so obviously this is very substantial.
The Portuguese caravel reaches the Kingdom of Congo. 9 years later, its ruler, Zinga Akuwu, converts to Christianity, along with many of his nobles. The king later abandons his Catholic faith, but Christianity remains Congo's state religion. In 1492, Catholic monarchs defeat the last remaining Islamic rulers in Spain, in the Emirate of Granada. The Christian reconquest of Iberia,
Columbus.
the Reconquista, is complete. That same year, Christopher Columbus reaches the Americas. It is a moment of profound significance for the spread of Christianity. Further transatlantic voyages by Europeans will pave the way for colonization and conversion.
Hey, that means that Columbus could be as responsible as anyone, you know, maybe not as much as Paul or for the beginning, but for the outcome of the amount of Christians in the world today. I mean, you could say Columbus is responsible for a large chunk of that.
Of this new world.
You could argue that, you know, if it wasn't Columbus, it'd be someone else a few years or decades later, but I mean, in our timeline, that's what happened.
The way for colonization and conversion of this new world. In 1493, Pope Alexander VI issues a papal bull granting Spain the right to claim newly discovered lands in South America.
That's
The
quick
bull urges
after
that
Columbus.
the Christian religion be exalted and be everywhere increased and spread, and that barbarous nations be overthrown and brought to the faith itself.
So this is a big quandrum I have in my own head over the spread of Christianity. And I wonder, and obviously the earlier on it was, the more one of these cases it will be, but how much of it was the true belief that this is a godly, the creator of the universe's ordained wish to spread the Christian religion, and how much of it is just a power move, knowing that pushing Christianity in these areas will increase your own power over these areas that are pushed into Christianity. Like, I would love to get into the head of people like this, of just how much they believe truly that, you know, it's God, it's the creator of the universe that ordains this, and how much is just power. I kind of said that twice, sorry.
The following year, in the Treaty of Tordesillas, Spain and Portugal agreed.
I'm sure it's going to be a mixture of both, but to what extent?
The following year, in the Treaty of Tordesillas, Spain and Portugal agreed to divide the New World between them. Drawing a line on the map, Spain will get everything to the west, Portugal everything to the east.
Seems like a good deal for Spain.
And wherever Spanish and Portuguese expeditions tread, Christian missionaries follow. Across what becomes New Spain, the Spanish impose Roman Catholicism, with the forced conversion of indigenous peoples and attempts to eradicate native religions. The same process occurs further south in Peru and the Portuguese colonies in Brazil. This era also marks the dawn of the transatlantic slave trade, as Europeans transport enslaved Africans to the Americas as forced labor. Christianity spreads in West Africa as a byproduct of the slave trade. And by the 16th century, Portuguese missionaries have established Christian communities along the coast. Meanwhile, in Europe, there is another major fracture of the Christian religion. In 1517, German priest Martin Luther launches a scathing attack on what he considers to be the corrupt practices of the Roman Catholic Church. His actions trigger the Protestant Reformation. Protestant demands for church reform.
I'm sure this thing with Martin Luther right here, this thing, it kind of goes along with my question that I said a minute ago about how much is for power and how much is for, you know, the fact that this is the creator of what they believe the creator of the universe ordained. And I'm sure a lot of what the Protestant Reformation is like, okay, is the power in the religion itself, or is it with the Pope? Because it seems like the Pope might be using Christianity, even if you do believe it is, you know, God's word and God's religion, um, to be like, okay, I want to follow the religion, but it seems like you're a human a bunch of humans using this power to your own advantage, and therefore I'm going to keep the religion but get rid of you.
Protestant Reformation. Protestant demands for church reform spread rapidly, aided by Gutenberg's new printing press. They are taken up by several European rulers for a mix of political and spiritual motives. Protestantism takes hold in Northern Europe. In 1534, English King Henry VIII breaks with Rome and makes himself head of the Church of England. From its birth, Protestantism is divided amongst a bewildering number of sects and movements, from Calvinists and Lutherans to Baptists, Anabaptists, Moravian Brethren, Anglicans and Presbyterians. Yet Catholicism remains the dominant branch of Christianity. It will now travel to Southeast Asia, alongside Portuguese and Spanish commercial interests.
And the USA.
Missionary
too.
Francis Xavier journeys
USA.
across Asia as a representative of Missionary Francis Xavier journeys across Asia as a representative of the Portuguese Empire. He lands in Goa in 1542, sails to Portuguese outposts in Indonesia in 1545, and reaches Japan in 1549, where Christianity gains many followers. In 1565, the Philippines becomes a Spanish colony and a hub for European trade. Catholic missionaries ensure Christianity is soon the dominant religion. In the early 1600s, Protestants from England and the Netherlands establish colonies along the North American coast. Many are Puritans, seeking religious freedom.
The part with the Philippines is also fascinating, in that I can hear, when I hear Filipino, the language of the Philippines, you can hear a bit of Spanish in it, and being so far away and obviously connected to a lot of East Asian languages, a part of it pops up and it makes it, oh, that's Filipino, that's the language, you know. And this explains a lot of it being so much dominated by the Spanish and later the Americans.
And
for
the
a bit.
Opportunity to build perfect Christian communities. Missionary John Eliot contacts native tribes in Massachusetts, and by 1663 he prints a Bible in their native language. But attempts at conversion have limited success. In the centuries ahead, it is the spread of European settlers that carries Christianity across the North American continent. By the end of the 18th century, Europeans have successfully embedded Christianity across the Americas. In both Britain and the future United States, this century sees several waves of religious revival, known as the Great Awakenings. These lead to the birth of the modern evangelical movement, with its emphasis on scripture and personal salvation. In the high age of European imperialism, Christianity travels to the remaining corners of the globe alongside European settlers and missionaries. In 1788, Christianity arrives in Australia alongside the first British penal colony. The London Missionary Society sends its first missionaries to eastern Polynesia in 1797.
As horrible as it sounds, setting up penal colonies for your own citizens in other parts of the world is a genius move. Maybe they didn't know it was, but I've said it in other videos where it seems like the greatest tool that a country can use in spreading its own domain is using the people themselves to spread across the world. I used Russia as an example, you know, pushing through Siberia and setting up, putting Russians in these areas. Obviously, the United States with Manifest Destiny, pushing its people across the United States. There's no greater tool for ensuring long-term soft power, maybe, than pushing your people throughout places. And so it's like hitting two birds with one stone and getting rid of some criminals in your own society and pushing those same people into other places around the world is an absolutely extremely powerful force. And I just look at the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand today, and how they are much more aligned with the UK, for example, than other places. And that I'm sure that would not have happened if you did not spread your people across a lot of areas.
Missionary work is largely responsible for Christianity's spread across the islands of the South Pacific. Christianity then reaches New Zealand, where missionary Samuel Marsden preaches the first Christian sermon in 1814. Christian missionaries spread their faith across India, among them the Baptist minister William Carey. Known as the father of modern missions, he translates the Bible into 7 Indian languages. But Christian missionaries are resented by many Hindus and Muslims. This anger contributes to the Great Indian Uprising against British rule in 1857. This is the age of heroic missionaries, men and women who embark on long and dangerous journeys to save souls in far-off lands. Scottish missionary David Livingstone is perhaps the most famous, the first European to reach many parts of Central Africa and to discover and name Victoria Falls. There are others, Adoniram and Anne Judson, who spent nearly 40 years as missionaries in Burma, and Mary Slessor.
Having this design in your religion that you need to spread the word and help other people to be saved for salvation also must be another giant contributor to the success of Christianity and Islam, for that matter.
In Nigeria, who learns the local language, Efik, to preach Christianity. In 1884, American Presbyterians arrive in Korea, bringing both Western medicine and Christianity. The new religion takes off. Today, nearly a third of South Koreans are Christian.
Wow.
In the 1880s, European nations begin the scramble for Africa. A colonial
That is not a long time ago. The 1880s. That's crazy. If you lived to 100 years old, okay, and you were born in 1884, you lived up to about the time where Back to the Future became a movie, okay? That is not a long time ago at all. At all.
Of the last independent African states. By 1914, they have...
Imagine living from cowboy times to Back to the Future. That is very reasonably in one lifetime.
Claimed African states. By 1914, they have claimed 90% of the continent, bringing Christianity with them. China had so far proved largely resistant to Christianity, with only around 100,000 converts by the start of the 20th century. There had even been a violent backlash against the spread of Christianity, the Boxer Rebellion, with thousands of Chinese Christians killed. But extensive missionary work after 1900 leads to the construction of thousands of churches and around 4 million Chinese converts by 1945. In the 20th century, the rise of communism proves a major threat to Christianity and other religions. Communist governments in the Soviet Union and Central and Eastern Europe dismantle the church and suppress worship. But Christianity proves the more resilient doctrine. When those governments fall, Christian churches re-emerge with popular support. Even in communist China, there are today many millions of Christians, despite tight state regulation. For nearly 2,000 years, the impact of countless missionaries and colonizers has helped to spread the Christian religion across the globe. Today, there are 2.3 billion Christians, nearly a third of the world's population, living and worshipping in almost every country on earth. For those of the Christian faith, another faith, or none, it has incontrovertibly been the most astonishing historical journey. If you've enjoyed this journey through the history of Christianity, then we highly recommend the channel Religion for Breakfast. Religion for Breakfast is dedicated to exploring humanity's beliefs and rituals throughout history. Their latest video delves into the fascinating Coptic Orthodox Church, tracing its origins in the 1st century AD, explaining its theology, and uncovering the lives of the Coptic community in modern Egypt. Other videos cover everything from ancient scripture and the religions of lost civilizations to modern belief systems like atheism and apocalyptic AI narratives. And if you'd like to watch all these right now, prestige streaming service Nebula is the place to be. On Nebula, you can watch more than 100 videos from Religion for Breakfast ad-free, plus bonus interviews and exclusive Nebula content, including tours of ancient sites like the Red Basilica, Sardis Synagogue, and massive Temple of Ramesses III. Nebula is built and curated by creators like us, which means that here you're guaranteed to find high-quality videos made by real humans about fascinating topics. The Epic History page includes our back catalogue, plus regular Nebula First videos, which means you get to see our latest documentaries long before they're out on YouTube. There are more than 200 creators on Nebula, across all genres, so whether you're after original movies and entertainment, or documentaries covering everything from film and gaming to science and engineering, you're bound to find something you'll enjoy. Plus, there's a great and growing range of Nebula originals, only available to
let me say this.
Subscribers. And we've got an exclusive
I want to see if there's
for Epic History viewers.
right here.
The link in our video description gets you 40% off Nebula's annual plan. That's just $36 a year.
Want to get to any promo codes, links.
Even better, the Nebula
before I say my last
plan
thing.
offers lifetime access, no strings, for $300. Thanks to all our existing...
Okay, go.nebula.tv/epichistory. Make sure to use that link if you're interested in Nebula and you heard from it here. That's what I want to at least get to before I give my last thoughts here. So here are my last thoughts. What is religion, and how does religion differ from just ideology? Is there a difference at all? And a great way to represent my question here is with communism. So I was going to say this, but I didn't stop and say it, is communism really very much, and their spreading of their ideology, very much different than a religion itself? I'm not sure. It doesn't have a god. It doesn't have some otherworldly reason for it. And so I could hear how you could say, no, it's not, because it doesn't have some non-worldly meaning to it, you know? And I can see that. But what made Christianity so capable of spreading across the world like it did, and Islam for that matter? And I'm sure a lot of it had to do with just chance. Like, Jesus was born in the right time, and he was of the right character, and he had the right people around him to spread it. Paul, for example. And then you had a empire, and then later former empire in the Roman Empire, as a grounds in which to spread that ideology further. And so it could very much just be chance. But just because you were in the right situation doesn't mean that you didn't have to be very charismatic yourself, right? And so whether you're religious or you're not religious, like I'm not, it is absolutely fascinating and is so connected to history itself that if you're interested in history, you have to be interested in religion just because of how significant it is. Hope everyone is doing well. Love y'all. Hope would have loved to see any comments down below. Did I say anything you disagree with? Let me know. Would love to see that. Answering any questions I have. You guys are always great with it. And yeah, I hope I'll see you guys next time. We'll keep on learning together. Bye, guys.